Hey there guys, this is Slamzeron, aka YouTube's Tosuke, and this is the Tales of the Abyss Final Thought video. To start off with, this one isn't really that different from the original, besides the add-in audio from the actual stuff and some scenes that were cut. What a nice song. This was the first Tales game that actually had the original theme song in it, even if it's just an instrumental. But going along with regular traditions, my favorite character is Luke Phone Fabre. Or Fabre, I don't know. As far as why, take a guess. Sword, red hair, yeah. He kind of reminds me of Karg from Ark the Lad. I don't really know why. But anyway, I remember being extremely excited for this game when it first came out, or when it was being made. I was like, holy shit, this game's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to play it. And I remember I really wanted this game to come out in English. I didn't really have the knowledge that importing games was so easy, especially on like PS2 and whatnot. But I wanted this game to come out, and I think due to high fan demand, this game came out in English. And so we all got a chance to play it. Of course, there are people who imported it from Japan and played it then. Overall, I like this game, okay? People who played Symphonia would probably like this game. I mean, it's made by the same people. And like Symphonia, the voices, I mean, the skits weren't voiced, but, you know, the English voices were okay. I mean, I didn't really have any expectation for Luke, so Yuri Lowenthal was fine. And as far as Guy, I think Johnny Young Bosch fit. I remember I had no idea who he was at the time. Like, on the Tales series forum, people were all like, oh, I think Johnny Young Bosch would be great for this. Like, who the fuck is Johnny Young Bosch? And then I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay, he's the Power Ranger guy. And then I actually heard him talk. I was like, oh yeah, he would fit. He would be good for Guy. As far as this game's difficulty goes, it was standard. I mean, it was sort of like Symphonia. It wasn't too easy. It wasn't too hard either. I mean, just standard. Not really much. There's the logo. I think the video just cut out again. Sorry about that.
2000. In Kimlaska shall be born one who inherits the power of Lorelei. He will be a boy of royal blood with hair of red.
That was sort of the big thing about this game. It was all about some big prophecy or something. Interestingly called The Score. And one thing I noticed about this game, there are a lot of little mini tidbits about, like, music. Like, you know, the whole term score, that's, like, a musical term for, like, you know, music in general, I think, or, like, musical writing. The text in this game, like, the actual, like, language kind of looks like musical notes. Tyr's outfit looks like a giant bar of music. And then there's the singing she does.
So, the time has come.
Heather Hogan as Tyr. A lot of people didn't like her English voice. Said it was too dull and, you know, unemotional. I mean, though, in my opinion, wasn't that kind of the point? Wasn't she... I believe she was supposed to, you know, be emotionless, and she was supposed to learn to be emotional. Like, much later. And Luke sees his brother! No. Hand over Ion right now, you motherfucker! And of course Ash is also played by Yuri Lowenthal. I mean, that makes sense. And then he looks and he's like, holy crap, that guy looks like me! And of course Jade, he understands things. Look how quickly this is. That was sort of my problem with this game. The story progressed too quickly. And then there's sort of at a point where there's a bit of a standstill where they were just traveling doing stuff.
Luke.
And how he's cutting his hair. I had to do the hair cutting sounds.
With this, I say goodbye to who I have been.
He actually looks kind of good that way. He just needs to cut his friggin' sideburn things. Goodbye, hair. I'll miss you. And this was the first Tales game where a character actually went through such a dramatic change like that to actually alter his appearance. Like, permanently. Going back to characters, Jade, he was pretty funny. He wasn't as funny as Yuri, but, you know, he was sort of on the same level. He was sarcastic. And Kirk Thornton did a good job of voicing him. As far as second favorite characters go, while we're on the subject of characters, I guess second favorite would be either, like, it would be Guy, third would be Ash, and favorite girl would be Annis. Or Teddy Bear Girl, as Matthias likes to call her. This is a weird scene. It looks like they just drew random stuff. I mean, it looks like a music video or like a bad anime. Kind of reminds me of Berserk, except not as much Sean Shamel. Music's pretty intense. The music in this game was, you know, okay. I mean, it had some good songs. The battle themes were pretty good. Nothing really that ultimately stood out to me. I mean, some songs did, but not a lot of them. It was just standard. There's a little ship thing. And here's that little fight thing that always happens in the Tales games, like, fight a major boss. Oh, you think it's over? No, it's not. There's gonna do another one! Another part of the game. That's sort of standard for Tales games. They fight like one major boss, think it's over, then a whole new plot emerges. Like I said before, I felt like this game progressed too quickly. At least in the beginning. I mean, they did the whole Luke cutting his hair thing too quickly, in my opinion. That seemed more like a climax sort of thing, and it didn't feel like a climax at all. I was just playing these like, oh, okay, I'm already at that scene. I thought it would take much longer to get. And Tyr's sad. Because she just killed her brother. She looks a little sad right there. Boo-hoo. Miss Emotionless. Sort of a random fact, but this scene is actually my favorite scene. I don't know why. I just like the scene. Of course, Luke is doing his hyper-resonance thing. Radiant Howl is actually my favorite Mystic art. It's just so epic to me, what the whole... There's Earth. Or the planet. Earth doesn't have a little thingy.
Damn it! I don't have enough power.
Good old Ash.
This hyper resonance. It's him.
I can understand why Ash would be pissed at Luke. I mean, he's basically not his own person anymore. I mean, someone around there who is exactly like him, just looks different, as not only and is also taken his name and in the beginning took over his role as the Luke. But you know,
the miasma is adhering to the dividing line, just as we had expected.
I mean, I can understand why he'd be pissed. But when you really look at how Ash and Luke look, Ash looks like he belongs in Luke's family more than Luke does. Like, Ash actually looks like he came from Luke's mom and dad because of their hair color and how Luke's dad's hair is like sort of the same kind as Ash's. So Luke almost looks like he's like a cousin or something, or he's just some random person who just happens to look like another character. Then there's this scene. Goodness, that's violent. The scene where Ash dies.
It looks like I had a little trouble. The rest
I'm
is
digging the funeral music. And then, of course, he goes inside friggin' Luke, so they become one. Technically. I remember I first saw the scene, and the music to me, it really does stand out. I feel like this is like music that belongs in like either a dark fantasy game or something from like the 80s or 60s or something. Yeah, this is like Winnie the Pooh music right here, sort of. Oh, I can hear Karma in this. You know, the Bump of the Chicken song. Emo, decrepit-looking Ash. How sad. The ending scene. This is sort of where the original kind of cut off, or getting close to it. I didn't even do a, and that's Flamzeron, goodbye. I actually just, kept talking. It was right here. You guys are getting the longer version, how about that? But yeah, I remember this. I remember how Tyr tells Luke that she loves him in the scene, in like the in-game scene before this. I think that's like the first, like really, I think second time that romance had actually played a semi-larger part in a Tales game. For the most part, it's just like, okay, these two are obviously paired up together, and they don't even mention it, but in like Destiny, this game, Dawn of the New World, romance is actually, they sort of, it's more direct and more obvious. Here comes the bride! Yeah. Ash and Luke are gonna get married. That was the big plot twist. They cut it out of the original version, but...
So the world did not vanish. To think the future I saw would be rewritten. You have done admirably.
Good job! Thanks, Lorelai! Oh, by the way, how's Rory doing? If any of you guys get that, let me know. There's the gang looking at the little pillar thingy. Aw, sad tear. And yet she doesn't even shed a tear. At least not yet. Merge together! Pay attention to his hand. I see it twitches. He's alive! He's alive! And of course they merge. Credits showing off everyone when they were younger. This would be a good chance to talk about the actual game as opposed to just watching the clips. Like I said, I mean, I've covered pretty much everything. Difficulty, standard. It was like Symphonia in my opinion. Graphics, they were taller characters, and there wasn't any like cell shading. Not to the degree of Symphonia where like everything was shaded, and like every little cell thing was shaded or anything. It was just like just a standard game. I noticed a few polygons, but I mean, it's a PS2 game. Music in this game, it was pretty good. There were some songs that stood out, but not many. ultimately, you know, it's a nice track. I didn't really